Morning all, how are you all doing? Sorry I'm late. I'm always late on a Thursday. Rushing back from the gym, sweating like crazy. Anyway, I'm here. Hopefully the internet holds out this morning. Something very wrong with the internet in the mornings at the minute, but don't know what it is. Afternoon, morning even. Amy, Christian, Danny, John, Kennelly, Ian, Peter, Virginia, Neo, Gregors, Bradley, how we doing? AZ, Mumo, Marco, Day Trader FX. How all do? Morning, the other Peter. So where should we start? News. So it's Thursday morning. We've got unemployment claims later today. That's the only news we've really got. We've got Powell speaking at 5 o'clock as well. So we may get some movement out of Powell. We'll see what happens. But where's he talking? Economic Club of New York lunch. Boozy lunch, so they might be able to get something out of him. So unemployment claims this afternoon at 1:30. The only other news we've had overnight is the Australian unemployment rate, 3.6. That came down, which is bullish Australia. So if you look at the ADRs today, we've got a couple of ADR hits, euro and pound against the odd. So downside. Really? Oh, fine. Okay, so the Australian dollar seems to have had a negative reaction to unemployment going down. Weird. You would... well, hang on. Sorry. Not with it. Hang on. Unemployment has come down. The unemployment rate is down, which is good for the currency. Well, not in this case. I suspect this is dropping because it takes pressure off of interest rates. So they're forecasting less inflation on interest rates. But I would say that's probably not going to hold that move. But we'll see. So New Zealand's dollar also come down this morning. Yeah. So yeah, big moves on the Aussie and New Zealand to the downside, but not massive. So euro odd is an ADR hit to the upside. Just hit the 125 level and bounced off by the looks of things. You have just had a reversal alert in there. It's a bit difficult to see because price is on top of it at the moment, but it's a very big, long, weird looking reversal alert. So might well push back down into there. There's no news on the pound or the euro today. So both of these potentially will reverse today. We'll see what happens. So that's your overnight news. Not a lot there, really. And then we've got unemployment claims later. Just have a quick scan through. It's Bank of Japan at the top there. The week. Yen is beneficial for exporters and firms with big exposure to overseas markets, but is hitting some other sectors via high costs. Various factors determine currency markets. Interest rates are only one factor. You keep saying that. Currency markets are in a deadlock. Risks to the global economy skewed. Chinese economy. No mention of being worried about the rates. Expect oil producing countries to continue to work towards stability. Interesting. So Japan hasn't said anything about being unhappy with the US dollar yen rate. What happened with the earnings overnight? Tesla misses. Netflix pops 10% as it beats expectations. Okay, so Netflix up, Tesla down. Mixed bag for the NASDAQ. Okay, so nothing there overnight. So what I was expecting overnight, we've got 3 minutes to the open. What I was expecting overnight was some kind of mention about the US dollar yen rate. However, looking at it realistically, because we pushed up yesterday, we broke this high yesterday. They brought it straight back down again this morning. So basically, this 150 level is where we're holding at the moment. So the fact that we're holding there, obviously, I guess that's why they're not talking about it, because if we get above that level and we start to rally above this previous week's high, which is where the intervention moved from, that's where we're going to start to get them a bit worried. So at the minute, I was kind of expecting, because we broke that level yesterday, they might mention something. But if you look at it, we actually broke it by like 10 pips. It's not much of a move, is it, really, in the grand scheme of things? But this is still holding here. If you look at all the other yen pairs, Aussie yen obviously be a bit different today, but all the other yen pairs, they've all recovered from the intervention move quite substantially, but they're not going anywhere. This market is totally sideways at the moment. So the yen, New Zealand dollar, has come down obviously because of the New Zealand dollar, Aussie dollar. But so that's all holding at the minute. So there's your ADRs. DAX. This morning we've got a gap down. We've got a gap fill. Cool, that's tight. May or may not be a gap fill. It's not really much of a gap, is it? So we have gaps down, and it does look like we're kind of filling it. But big down day yesterday. This is the obvious target to the downside. Last week's low. Sorry, not last week's low. The previous week's low. So we've got this target to the downside potentially for limit order triggers today. Upside, you're looking at yesterday's high, which is absolutely miles away. That's 150 ADR to the upside. So when you look at this for direction today, there's this area, which is the previous day's low, which we have broken. So we might find that acts as a resistance because they broke through that pretty hard. Buyers tried to slam back through that, got absolutely trampled on, and then we started a new leg down. So potentially that is going to act, this big propulsion gap here is going to act as a resistance to the upside. So watch that level. And downside, obviously, we're going for a bounce there. So basically this support to the upside and to the downside, that. Other than that, ADR. So we'll see where we go at the open. We're open. A little gap up there at the open. Earnings today. So post-market, obviously, we had the two first big players, Netflix and Tesla. Positive Netflix, negative Tesla. Both of these, obviously, are NASDAQ stocks. Pre-market today, we've got AT&T, Blackstone, Philip Morris, Taiwan Semiconductor. They're huge. And aftermarket, we've got some surgical company. Mixed bag this morning, mainly S&P stocks. So we'll see where we go. So it looks like we've just tried to break to the upside on DAX. Long on the DAX. Not really moving very far this morning, though. Yeah, very quiet. Morning, Franco. Morning, Antoine. When are we going to start and trade the yuan? I'm not. It's not. No one is. It's not being traded at the minute. It is being traded, obviously, a lot, but not by me, not by many people. Don't even know if I've got it. I suppose when they let us trade it, I mean, it's there. You can only trade the US dollar against it at the moment with most brokers. Have a look at it. Not on this one, though, on the other platform. The ADR 262. Jesus. I mean, look at that. Is that swap? I've never, ever in my 15 years trading looked at the yuan, ever. Look at the state of it. What an awful instrument. This is why people don't trade it. I guess it's classed in as an exotic. Look at that. Yeah, market closed there. Market opened down there. All right, that's 150 pips. That's over half an ADR in spread overnight. Again, there. Bit like the New Zealand dollar, isn't it? Overnight. It's a huge, gappy, spready thing. Not nice at all. What's the swaps like? 170 swap long, 51 short. Jesus. $170 is that, or is that yuan? That's got to be dollars, isn't it? Mine, I can't trade the 107, something that swaps at $170 overnight. Can't trade it. Too expensive to hold. You could, I mean, look at this, 12 and 0, right? You could intraday trade it, but you don't want to hold it overnight. You'll get absolutely slaughtered on the swaps. Probably why nobody trades it. I've never looked at it. I don't trade it at all. People keep asking about it. I've had somebody mention something in Telegram to me yesterday about it, and it's not something I'm interested in because most brokers don't have all the crosses, and it's the US. It's another cross for the US dollar to add. So you're just adding another US dollar cross. The fundamentals on it don't seem to be as effective at moving it either. So I don't know. It might be something that comes into the equation, but at the minute, nah, not really interested. Jesus Christ, look at that. I don't know what it's probably got confluence with something as well. So it probably acts similar to something else. I'll have to have a look through it, but it is probably going to be one of those currencies which is going to become more and more prevalent over time as we get this BRICS thing underway and it becomes more important. So we'll see. DAX is long breaks doing well. So to our target is nicely in that accumulation. So see if we can get break above this support here. Closed yesterday's SIH US 30 at plus 0.14. Very happy considering how choppy things got. Yes. If you came out of yesterday with a profit, you did very well. I managed to bank 1.3% yesterday, but not through the stock index hedge EA. The stock index hedge EA made $1,000 loss yesterday. I scalped my way out of the loss basically on the NASDAQ yesterday. But that one got a profit on the DAX yesterday, got a profit on the DOW yesterday. The NASDAQ was the locked-in hedge, which I managed to get out of with a small loss. And then I just played a couple of scalps yesterday, managed to get that back to a positive. But when I got back to a positive, I stopped because it's a bit crap yesterday, wasn't it? Probably one of the worst trading sessions I've seen on the NASDAQ, on all the indices, to be honest. If you look at them all, when we opened up, yeah, I mean, we got hedged immediately on it. And then we sat there literally for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 minutes, just wicking crazily. Then we had this huge spike to the upside and everyone's like, we're going long. And then it went, boom, we're going short. And then it sat there for over an hour doing nothing. And then it was like, we're going to break to the downside again. No, we're not. Yes, we are. No, we're not. Look at it. It's just an absolute mess. The thing was a lunatic yesterday. All of them. They all did the same thing. Total, almost impossible to trade. Almost. It was, nightmare. Oh, thanks for that, DAX. Sellers are stepping in. Resistance. Look at that. Missed target by that much. We'll see where we go. So we've got some selling pressure coming through at the moment. See what the rest are doing. We might have some stocks coming out. We got stocks pre-market today. I'm not sure what time they're being released, but obviously we need to watch for stock movement. Obviously, any stock movement, all these earnings we got coming out today, they're being released pre-market. Obviously, these are we've got Blackstone. That's finance, isn't it? Philip Morris. So we got some IT in there. So what you want to watch with these stocks is, and with these as well, is for sector purchases. So when you get a sector performing well, so let's say, for example, the easiest one is motor. So if you get Tesla earnings up, General Motors earnings up, Ford Motors earnings up, you know that the motor sector is doing well. So you'll suddenly get sector purchasing going on. So they'll buy motor sector in anticipation of all the other motor sector stocks doing well when they get released. So you'll find you get movement across all indices at the same time, where they're basically buying up a sector. So if they'll buy the pharmaceutical sector, there'll be pharma in tech, there'll be pharma in all four of those. So if you get a big pharma purchase, they all go at the same time. So when you get earnings fortnight, it affects all indices, the FTSE and the DAX and the France 40 as well. Because if you get a big earnings come out on something that's in the NASDAQ, for example, all stocks related to that stock that are trading in these sectors will also get a boost. So Apple's the obvious example. If Apple have big earnings, it means they are selling more product. If they're selling more product, all of the semiconductor manufacturers and the manufacturers that supply Apple with all the components, their stock also rises. So you get a tech sector purchase, and those will be across all industries. So Tesla had bad earnings overnight. Motor sector, massive influence on the DAX. So if Tesla is going to dump, it would, if they do a sector purchase, obviously a sector sell in this case in the motor sector, the DAX will be affected by that. But we'll see. Buying back on the Dow and the S&P. So we'll see if we can get that little bit more of a rally started, but not quite sure today, is it? Right, we'll come back to that in a sec. Pound New Zealand weekly range just hit. I was just going to talk about oil before we get going. So we got the gap fill yesterday on oil. So I got out of that position yesterday because I was expecting a gap fill. So I put a trailing stop on that, which was fairly tight as we broke that high, and then got out on my trailer. They came down, they did the gap fill. I didn't need to add back on because I already had a position, and that one's just sitting in profit at the moment, hoping for a rally up. We had the oil inventories out last night as well at 3:30, which is 5:30 here. It's around about there. So that was where the oil inventories were released. No impact. So just sideways movement on that, and we haven't gone anywhere so far today. It was very quiet overnight in Israel. Well, I guess it probably wasn't quiet, but as in no real news, no escalation, no de-escalation. We had Biden there yesterday doddering around. We've got Rishi Sunak going over from the UK now, just to basically try and talk the Israelis down from a massacre, basically. And it seems to be working because they haven't gone in yet. The ground troops are still there. So if this suddenly escalates and we suddenly get Iran and everybody else involved in this and they all gang up on Israel, it means we've all got to back Israel and gang up against them, which starts the war. Oil prices will go through the roof. So hence, obviously, speculative longs on at the moment. But all the time, nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. Yeah. So this gap up was caused by the hospital being hit. Yeah. Now we found out what happened with that, or potentially what happened with that. Less impactful, isn't it? It's not going to start a conflict because they bomb their own side, we think. But you know, does anybody ever know? But so yeah, so that's oil. Thanks for pulling back. So yeah, we'll see where we go with that one. But nice profit on that yesterday. ADRs we've covered this morning. There's not many ADRs. We've just hit the weekly on the pound New Zealand, wasn't it? So pound New Zealand rallying. Obviously, we've got the New Zealand dollar weakness off the back of that Australian dollar weakness, which, to be honest, I don't think should really be a week number, but anyway. I've got one short on that already this morning. That's an H1M5 mean reversion. It's pushed up again since got into that. So that's now hit its weekly range from Monday. However, I'm not convinced because that was just a big gap down, which kind of filled straight away. So if you take that out of the equation, that's probably not a weekly hit. I'm on pound New Zealand. I should be on pound. Yeah, pound New Zealand. Yeah, that's right. Mad. So yeah, pretty good move on that one. Waiting for a pullback into propulsion. Let me just put my target on that actually, because it's a new position. Profit, is it? I'm going to target that second propulsion gap there. We've got no news that's going to trigger any big moves on this at the moment. So that support, or rather resistance, which will probably turn into support, may well be a good place to take it off. I'll see what happens when price action gets there, but I'm going to try for that propulsion gap there, which should be a nice 38 retracement on that full leg. So see if we can get a pullback on that leg there to the downside. RSIs, we've got quite a few to look at on there. Hamburger Hill trading yesterday, war of attrition. Yeah, thankfully I got lucky. Yeah, I got lucky too yesterday. Half of luck. Half of your profits are going to come from luck in trading. Just have to accept that fact. Sometimes you get lucky. Yesterday was one of those. If you can survive a bloodbath like that, DAX was actually not too bad. DAX was fairly readable yesterday, but yeah, the other indices, I mean, if you can survive that movement yesterday and come out with any kind of profit, got to be a certain amount of luck involved in it. It was just unreadable crap yesterday. We got quite a lot of volatility coming in this morning. Buyers are trying to take control of this today, but we are struggling because we're hitting this area of balance from yesterday where we were just not going anywhere. So we seem to have some sellers trying to get a new low put in at the minute. We'll see where we go. Very wicky again, isn't it? Market's really scared at the minute. Really scared. Just doesn't want to put any risk on the table, which means obviously indices are usually going to be weak. EV sales are slowly falling across the industry. Are they? Not in the UK. A few years' time, you won't be able to even buy petrol in the UK. You won't have a choice. It will be 100% EV. So be surprised if they're falling. I haven't even looked. It's not the sort of thing I look at, but I would never buy a petrol car again. I'd buy a Porsche, another Porsche, but I wouldn't buy a petrol car otherwise. Always electric. I'm full electric, have been for years. And everybody in my family is full electric, apart from one. And in fact, there's not many people I know that have bought a new car in the last few years that haven't bought electric. But this is the UK, so I don't know. If they're falling across the States, it might be a different thing. The trouble with the States is, obviously, if you go to the neighbouring town, you're going to need 300 miles, aren't you? So electric vehicles are a lot more difficult to use in the US unless the infrastructure is rolled out. And I think that's the problem, isn't it? The infrastructure. So we will see. Laws coming in. You know, you haven't got a choice. You will have to buy an electric car. Which is good because they're really nice to drive. Right, Aussie dollar Swiss starting off at the top. RSIs. So Aussie dollar Swiss, I've got three positions on now. I've got out of one already on this and added that one back on yesterday. Obviously, the news today tanked the Australian dollar. So we're coming back down into support. If you look at the fundamentals for the Aussie at the minute, wiki at the minute, buyers are holding up though, holding that propulsion gap. So yeah, if you look at the fundamentals at the moment for the Australian dollar, I think this is probably why we're seeing a little bit of weakness shifting in here. So unemployment change is negative 0.1, which means unemployment is slightly coming down, obviously. So, which is good. When unemployment is coming down, it gives them free rein to increase interest rates more, because higher interest rates cause higher unemployment. So if this is coming down, it's usually good for the currency, because it, in this particular climate where we've got inflation going through the roof, because what they want to do is want to put interest rates up to control inflation. If your unemployment is going up, it hinders you doing that, because it creates even more unemployment, which makes everybody more poor, and inflation gets affected by that as well. So what we tend to see when you get unemployment figures coming down is more availability for interest rate rises, which means that you tend to get a bullish move on a currency. Today, they've obviously decided, no, we don't think that is bullish, possibly because the inflation is coming down at such a high rate. However, as we can see from many other places in the world, that stops. Inflation has come to a halt in the US. It's come to a halt in the pound. In Japan, it's ever so slightly lower. The Swiss has just gone up. The Canadian is slowing down as well. So this -1, probably when we get the next quarterly figures for the Aussie, will probably come out at a -0.2 or something, which will mean, yes, you should do more of that, and you can do it right now. But if that comes out as a +0.1, you won't be able to do that. So I would say this is more bullish than bearish on the Australasian pairs, but they're obviously having the negative view this morning. Doesn't mean they're not going to. So, yeah, we'll see where it goes. We're at a lovely support on this one at the moment. So nice extension on the 4-hour, nice extension on the hourly RSI. So big moves down, and potentially nice big bounce up. So also on this one, you've got monthly supports coming up. You've got last month's low, previous month's low, this whole area down here, we obviously bought up. So if it doesn't hold here, we'll be looking for some bounces out of these levels. So might need to get another 1, maybe 2 on it if it continues to drop, but we'll see. So that's Aussie dollar Swiss. DAX TP hit. So TP hit on the DAX, trailing the second position. I've got a slow trailer on this one now. So what I've done with the DAX is instead of using a 1R trailer, when we get to 2R, I'm using a 2R trailer. So basically I'm trailing 2 times the distance. So when we get to 3R, I will have my TP, my stop loss at 1R. Yeah. So I'm trying to give the DAX a little bit more room to breathe. Yeah. So on these nice trend days, rather than getting stopped out quickly on 1R, which is nice because it banks more money, I'm trying to see if I can capture some bigger moves. So when we get to 3R there, obviously this will be locked in just above 1R there. So going to guarantee 1R locked in basically by the looks of things, but trying to get some of these 5Rs in and get some bigger profits. But these markets are very choppy at the minute, as we know. So that's why I've got kind of a tight stop on. We're not getting big movements at the minute. We're getting choppy movements. So it makes sense to take the profit now and walk away with it. But equally, it would be much nicer to bank 3.5 grand than it would be to bank 2 grand, obviously. But anyway, DAX has hit target. So you're done on the DAX. If you've got a 2R target, if you've got less or more, then you're done differently to me, aren't you? But you're done. Beginning, BMW have signed up to the Tesla charging network in the US. It's a different plug socket. We've got I've got a BMW iX3. We can't use the Tesla chargers because it's a different socket. Maybe they're putting different sockets in using the Tesla boxes, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Got to do something. Euro New Zealand ADR, New Zealand dollar still pushing hard. Was his chest day today? What? Was it chest day today? No, I spin. I do spinning. Morning, Harold. Morning, Ismet. I do spin classes, so I don't go to the gym. I go to the leisure centre and do spin classes. Okay, pulling back. Just going to lock in another 1R on it. Just concerned about not being able to get through this area of resistance, basically. We might just collapse back away from there, so I'm just going to lock a little bit more in. Can't leave it alone, can you? Right. Aussie dollar Swiss looked at. Aussie dollar New Zealand dollar. Crazy move on the Aussie New Zealand. This had a really big reaction to the CPI. And we had another update yesterday. Looks like we're going for another update today. So we got lovely big propulsion targets to the downside to come back and test at some point. I've got 2 on this at the minute. So second position was taken yesterday. I've got my target set on this one all the way down in this. I'm just going to move it to the top of that propulsion gap. All the way down in this bottom propulsion gap. So this area here is the most recent high. This is a monthly level. We pulled away from it, and that is where we slammed through that level there. Yeah, and then we continued, obviously, with a big, strong move. So I'm looking for a return to origin move, basically, for a potential bounce up, if it's going to continue long, obviously. I will obviously see what happens with it. If we put an ISM pattern reversal in and then start market structure coming down, I'll be watching this propulsion gap to see what happens there. But at the moment, I'm going with a nice big target. News-wise, we've got the statement of intent tomorrow for the New Zealand. That's the only other news we've got coming up on these pairs. I'm not expecting it to do an awful lot. However, we've just had the CPI figures released for the New Zealand dollar, and we haven't had anything much out of them since then. So there is potential that they might have something in the statement of intent that gives us some clues to what they're going to do with interest rates moving forward based on that new CPI figure that we've just received. So we might get something off of it. However, the Aussie and the New Zealand move in tandem a lot of the time. So it does an awful lot, as you can see, it does an awful lot more of that than it does that. So it's one of those things you kind of want to get out of fairly quick if you've got a profit. But we'll wait and see. But that's nicely extended on the 4 hour still, above the 80 level. And again, you know, when we get to the 80 level, it's not often we get to 80 and we don't have some kind of strong reaction yet. So looking for some kind of pullback on this move, yeah, before we continue up, if we're going to do that. But this could obviously very easily just be a 61.8 retracement leg to the downside. Yeah, that's where we broke. We broke down. So this could be just a pullback short. So either way, if it's a pullback short, I win. If it's a long leg and it's a pullback long, I win. I don't care. I just wanted to do one of them. ASAP. CAD Swiss. Big strong move down on the CAD Swiss. Got loads of shorts out of this. Flipped long now. So this is really extended on the 4 hour. Again, down below the 80. Not often we get to the 80 without having some kind of pullback. We had a bit of a squeeze on it here. Yeah. And then boom. So if we do go into a big move, we tend to get a big move in the opposite direction. This is turning into an A-shaped recovery move at the moment. So we've got this monthly low and the previous month's low down here. So that's where we'll be looking for some kind of bounce if we just don't get a natural pullback on this move. So we'll get a bounce out of the limit orders triggering at this level anyway when we get down there. But it's a case of hopefully it will just pull back from there first. Canadian dollar obviously rallies off the back of oil. Oil we're expecting to go to $100 a barrel. We've got retail sales for the Canadian dollar coming through tomorrow, and obviously the US moves the CAD as well. We've got news coming through on the US unemployment tomorrow. This afternoon. So there's lots of news coming for it, as well as the fact that we've got oil. The downside to this one is obviously Swiss franc. Everything is running into the Swiss franc at the moment because the market is scared to death, and when the market is scared to death, it buys the Swissy. because it's the safest place you can put your money. So at the minute, the Swiss franc is having a field day, obviously, because of what's going on with Israel. So if that escalates, we will get a push down, usually because the Swiss franc increases. However, we will also see oil prices increase, which will give the Canadian dollar strength. So this one could just get stuck because they both turn bullish at the same time, but we'll see. So still, very nice extension there. So looking for a decent pullback on this leg. I'm looking for a 50% retracement back into that propulsion gap on the 4 hour. If you look on the hourly, yeah, it's this propulsion gap here, which we've tested, accumulated, and dropped from. So looking for it to come back up into there, basically. Average is only 175 ADR, so it's not far away. Just waiting for some bullish movement. That's CAD Swiss. CAD Yen is extended on the hourly to the downside. That's only just got extended, though. We're in this propulsion gap. Still not interested in buying anything against the yen. Although the yen's had a nice little run off the back of this intervention, as soon as you go, oh, it doesn't look like they're going to intervene again, and you start to draw a long position and it starts to get going, or it pulls down, you add a second position and it starts to push up. That is always when the US dollar yen rallies like crazy on some US dollar news and the Japanese turn around and intervene and kick you in the teeth. So I'm just not interested in buying it. The EA is turned off at the moment on all yen pairs apart from US dollar yen. So I'm just shorting it. It's just too dangerous to do that when there's a chance that they're going to stick one of those in. And that was a tiny one. Yeah, the next one is going to be bigger. Going to be 600 ADR. So, yeah, it is a long at the moment, but it's an intraday long. So, you know, you've had a 5-minute reversal alert on it. Yeah, had a 5-minute reversal alert on it and a retest. So, you know, sort of thing, yeah, take it long, but just get out fast. If it goes into drawdown and you're going to position trade it, you're playing with fire, basically. So yeah, CAD Yen, that is extended to the downside. Euro New Zealand, massive extension on the 4 hour. But both my terminals disconnected then. Just worried about, there we go, it's fine. The internet disappearing because it keeps disappearing at the minute. Euro New Zealand, huge move on this. We're back above the 80 level now on the Euro New Zealand as well. We had no pullback whatsoever on this initial rally last week. We literally, tiny little flag break, and it hasn't stopped. Tiny little flag break. Yeah, so this thing's screaming off at the moment. So as you can see, lit up red, big style. So 4 hour RSI extension. We were looking, I drew this level in here, which was this support resistance area. Yeah, so we used that as support, broke it, used it as resistance, was expecting some kind of reaction there. Absolutely just flown through it. Totally not interested. So New Zealand dollar falling through the cracks at the minute. Next level of resistance, we've got this propulsion gap coming up at 200 ADR. But obviously, because we're coming into a nice area of balance, this is a multi-week balance, almost a month. It's just sitting there, happily trading away. We're likely to find resistance coming in here. So some kind of pullback on this leg is what I'm looking at. Hourly RSI extension is also embedded above, same as this, that it's embedded above the 75 level. We didn't get any profit take move on that whatsoever, which means everybody that's entered those longs there is still long. Yeah, so now they are even longer. When that move starts, it will come down twice as fast because you've got 2 legs of buying in there. So looks good basically for shorts, even better than it was when I got into it. So yeah, just taking another one this morning. Just going to move TP down into this propulsion gap now. So targeting this propulsion gap. So was targeting there. Now going to move target back up into there. Well, I've only got 3 TPs. So yeah, so that's a 50% retracement. If it's going to continue to go on its merry way, that's fine, but wait for the profit take move on that. And it could obviously just come down because we're in a down leg. And again, all these ones where we're rallying hard at the moment with the New Zealand dollar, don't forget they are all down legs. So this could just be pullback short. Could be pull back long, we don't know, but one or the other, doesn't matter which. Just when it starts to move, we'll get out. Pound Swiss, big extension to the downside on the 4 hour. It's not actually, it's only just got extended. It was extended. So this Pound Swiss, we had this was Friday. Obviously the Swiss franc, they went absolutely crazy on. It's still pushing down at the moment. The Swiss franc is going to remain strong all the time we've got uncertainty in the Middle East. So when we've got some clear direction, and by clear direction, go in or don't go in, make a decision. At the minute, the safe havens are being bought up because there is uncertainty. When there is certainty, even if it is, yes, Israel are now invading and Iran are now invading Israel, that's fine. As long as we know, the Swiss franc will then start to ease off a bit because the money will be, all right, okay, now we know what we need to do because there's conflict. At the moment, there's uncertainty, which means you put your money in the safe havens while you're waiting for a decision on where you need to put your money. So if the war kicks off, it'll all come out the Swiss franc and go into oil or go into other things, yeah? But at the moment, we don't know where to put the money, so it goes into safe haven. So that's why we're getting such a rally on this at the minute. As soon as we get something happening, it'll all pull back to the 24.72, probably back up into this high there. So nice extension on the 4 hour, nice extension on the hourly. All these Swiss francs are the same. Yeah, lots of money coming into the Swissy. So opportunities to get in there. Pound New Zealand extended to the upside. First position, we've looked at this one because it's an... Why did we look at this one? That was a weekly hit, wasn't it? So yeah, first position taken on that one this morning, targeting that propulsion. New Zealand dollar. So the New Zealand dollars, all of them, really, really weak at the moment. So New Zealand dollar CAD, big strong push down. We've had good moves on oil, so that's pulling back a little bit. Let me just see what's happening with the DAX. Yeah, so out the DAX, 1 hour on the second position, so 1200 banked on the DAX. So we did get sold out of there. So either we are looking at this being the pullback into propulsion and then we're going to start a new leg up, or this is just a rejection, continuation short. Don't care. I'm done. Done. So yeah, look at this New Zealand dollar. Is this Canadian dollar strength? Aussie and New Zealand getting absolutely trounced, look. So yeah, New Zealand dollar CAD coming down. Got 3 on this one at the moment. So just taken another one this morning on this. TP's tricky now. I mean, this propulsion is my ultimate target, but it's a bit far away now. We've got this weekly level coming up at ADR today. If we don't get any reaction from there, i.e. we start to bounce back up into this area, I will probably look for those highs here as being targets. So I'm just going to move TPs down there for the minute. That's only 150 ADR, so just in case we get some kind of overnight spike that will take it up there. So New Zealand dollar CAD, it's just about extended on the hourly again. 4 hour, we're just going extended again. Again, these New Zealand dollars just getting absolutely trounced at the minute. New Zealand dollar Swiss, that's obviously the biggest one. Weakness in the New Zealand dollar, huge strength in the Swiss franc. So as you can see, pretty much the same as the CAD Swiss. Yeah, New Zealand Swiss extended below the 20 level on the 4 hour and below the 20 level on the hourly. So you can see absolute catastrophic sell-off last week. Not doing anything different. Lovely monthly support, double bottom coming up at 125 ADR. So if we get down to here, you shouldn't, I'm in 4 positions on this. You shouldn't really be in any more than that if you're in this, but sorry, no, I'm not in 1, 2, yeah, I am in 4. if you want to do aggressive drawdown control, if you want to start some aggressive positions on it, obviously this area today at 100 to 125 ADR is where you want to be looking, these monthly levels. So if we do get a continuation push down there today, we're massively extended, look. That's where you'd want to get in with something aggressive, because if we do get that limit order bounce, which we should do from there, assuming nothing fundamental happens, you're going to get a decent bounce off of that, because as soon as they see this starting to move back up again, everybody that started shorting it from last week and is holding shorts is going to start to flip long to get out of those positions. So we'll get a big fast move up. I've got another position here ready to go, which I'm going to put just above that hourly reversal alert there, just to add another little bit into this, because the problem with this position is those two were too far apart. That was round about 1.5 ADR between the two positions. I like 3/4, so it's twice as far as I like to scale in. So the average is a little bit further away than I'd like on this one. So I'm just got another position ready to go, just to try and bring that down a little bit quicker, so that I can get out if we can come back up and test this area here. So what I'm worried about is just a 38 retracement and a continuation down if this Swiss franc rally continues. So I want to give myself an opportunity to get out on a shallow pullback rather than on a nice big deep pullback. Ignore the TPs up there. They're put them in that propulsion for the minute. So that's New Zealand dollar Swiss. New Zealand dollar yen, again, same thing. I don't want to be longing anything against the yen. It might just flip-flop around forever. Yeah, if it does, it does. I'm not worried. I'm not going to worry about missing out on a nice yen long. I'd much rather just not be in it at the moment, apart from the US dollar yen position I'm holding in case that intervention comes. The only reason I've got that short on is in anticipation of intervention. If the intervention doesn't come, fine. I'll just close it out when I get to some kind of break-even level, because the swaps are killing me. But so there is a reverse alert just gone in on this one. Oh, no, it hasn't. Sorry. Blimey, look at that. This New Zealand dollar is really dying, isn't it? So yeah, it's nicely extended on the hourly. 4 hourly, you're extended, just getting to the 25 level. So nice potential bounce on this one. But again, you know, it's struggling, really, really struggling. And obviously, if we do get that US dollar rally against the yen, that thing's going to power up. So you just don't really want to be longing anything against the yen, just in case. It's just kind of at the minute, just take the yen out of the equation, trade everything else. Just leave the yen for the moment, because we don't know. It's too uncertain as to what's going to happen with it. New Zealand US, got 2 positions on this one at the moment. We'll be adding a third onto this one today, extended on the 4 hours, you can see, extended on the hourly. Again, US dollar benefiting from safe haven runs. They buy the US dollar, they buy the yen, they buy the Swiss franc, they buy gold when they're worried. The Swiss franc is getting the lion's share at the moment because the market's scared about the US dollar dropping on interest rate drops. So the Swiss is the obvious choice at the moment, which is why that's getting more power than everything else. But the US will also power up in times of trouble as well. So that coupled with this New Zealand dollar weakness, they're pulling out basically of all the commodity pairs, CAD, Oz, New Zealand, just getting hit at the minute. And US dollar CAD extended to the upside. So that's good for a short, not quite extended enough for me at the moment. That is extended on the 4 hour and extended on the hourly. This is going to be quite a tricky one, because obviously when the US dollar powers up, the Canadian dollar powers up. The Canadian dollar also powers up on oil. So that is more likely what you're going to see with this pair. So a bit more tricky to trade, a bit more tricky to get into positions on it. But when you do, it's one of those pairs that's pretty easy to get out of, but it just doesn't give that many trades. If you look at the US dollar CAD, it's normally pretty nice and even movement on it a lot of the time. Not always, but so yeah, there you go. There's your RSIs. DAX is done. Back into the opening range. So it might get a bounce out from here, but the way these markets are going at the moment, I wouldn't anticipate much excitement or trend days. It's just not giving it up at the minute, is it? I'm having very painful squeezes. Oh, sorry to hear about that. And bad results. Drawdown control with the Swiss pairs. Tempted to ditch all Swiss pairs for good. If you look at the direction, many people have said that before with the Swissy. And yes, it does squeeze hard. My worst squeeze, apart from the one that I'm in at the moment, the pound US, my worst squeeze before that was the US dollar Swiss. And it lasted a long time. And then the Aussie New Zealand. But the US dollar Swiss was because of the same sort of thing. We had a safe haven run on the US dollar Swiss when we were leading up to Christmas, just before the market collapsed. So they kind of knew something was coming and all the money flew into the Swiss franc out of the US dollar and it collapsed. Whenever you get into a squeeze on anything against the Swiss, you will usually find the squeeze is a short squeeze. Yeah. So if you're worried about it, what you could do is switch the market reversal alerts EA to go short only on Swiss pairs. Because when you get the thing with the Swiss franc is the reason it squeezes is because there's a safe haven run. Yeah, and they're big moves. They're big squeezes. Or big pushes which don't recover. That's the thing. They don't recover because it's the market wanting to keep and store money in the Swiss franc. So the squeezes are rarely the opposite direction because the other currencies will move freely, meaning they will power up and depower, power up and depower. With the Swiss franc, it will power up and sit there and power up and sit there. So if you just short the Swissy, everything against the Swissy rather, so just be long Swiss franc, so short everything XXX Swiss, you'll probably find it's less squeezy. If you go back and look at all the big Swiss franc moves, I mean, this is, just spend some time doing a bit of analysis, but you look at all the big Swissy moves that are big, boom, drops. It's because they're buying the Swiss, because something's going wrong, or they're unsure about what's going to happen with something. So it could be we go into earnings fortnight. Yeah. Not sure what to do with my stock portfolio because we're not sure what results we're going to get. Okay, we'll just pull it out the stocks for the minute, stick it in the Swiss franc until we know what the results are. Then we can pull it out and put it into different sectors, can't we? It's a holding pattern. That's what it's used for. That's why they call it a safe haven currency. It's safe. You can't get much safer than the Swiss. They're incredibly rich. They've got an incredibly good government. They've got brilliant monetary policy. They've got a very stable currency, and they are one of the largest banking systems in the world with the Swiss National Bank. They're just doing really well, and they always are. They never aren't. Their inflation and their interest rates is always spot on. Whenever they give us any forecasts on it, it's pretty much to the pip. It's like German car engineering for the banking sector, the Swiss. Yeah. Look at their interest rates compared to the rest of the world, excludes Japan because they don't do anything with interest rates. But look at them compared to everybody else. 1.75, unflinching, inflation below target, ticking up. Do they care? No, because they're below 2%. They haven't gone above 2%. Everyone else has gone up. We went up to 12%. We screwed it big style. Everybody screwed it big style. The Swiss just went, no, that's not how you do it. You do it like this. Yeah. If you want to have your money in somewhere stable that you know you're going to get a good return on it, not big, but you're going to get a good return on it. And if World War III kicks off, it won't affect you. That's where you stick your cash. Anything goes wrong anywhere, you just buy it. Yeah. So if that's the case, you just want to be short against the Swissy, don't you? So you can do that. But when there is a pandemic, when the pandemic is over, that has to come out. So the money gets pulled out of the Swiss franc as well. Yeah. But there's, especially at the moment, there's more things going wrong in the world with everything than there is going right. So there's a hell of a lot more chance of people being uncertain, isn't there, than being sure. And now, with interest rates peaking at potential terminal rates, what are we now unsure about? When they're going to drop on interest rates. So what state are we in at the moment? Unsure. So what do you do with your money when you're not sure? You stick it in the Swissy. Yeah, we're unsure who's going to drop interest rates first. We're unsure if it's going to be the US. It should be because they normally lead. If it isn't the US, everyone's going to be going, holy crap, the US haven't dropped. When are the US going to drop? What's that make you? Unsure. you're constantly unsure. If everybody was sure, we'd all know which way the markets are going, wouldn't we? So that's why it's always a safer bet to be buying the Swissy. But like everything, after you've done that, you have to pull the money out. So you will get pullbacks still. But scaling into pullbacks short on the Swiss is probably a safer thing at the moment. But you're not the first person to say that. I had it when I got stung by the Swiss peg removal back in 2015. I said I'd never trade the Swiss franc again. That didn't last very long at all, because everyone then said, well, now you should be trading the Swiss franc because it's unpegged. It's got its own life. And did it come to life? Blimey. Turned into the world's safe haven. So, but, you know, it will undo. Retail is 98% short Euro New Zealand. Yeah. And until they stop being short, that will probably carry on going. 96% short Aussie New Zealand. Yeah. All the time retail are going, we're short on this. The market will be going, thank you for all your short orders. Every time you go short, we will just keep buying your money and making money with it. Thank you very much. And when you decide you don't want to do that anymore and you go, oh, screw this, we can't get. So what will happen is you get a little pullback and they'll go, right, I'm buying it. Oh, okay. Every time you buy it, we will get out of our positions, thank you, because we've been buyers. Now we need to be sellers. So we need your buy orders so that we can sell. That's the way it works. The way it's always worked. It'll come down at some point. Just got to wait. GM, are you still... Oh, good morning. Are you still in GU buy? Yeah. So we're down at the support and we are bouncing nicely. Well, we have bounced nicely. They have triggered limits. Whether those limits hold or not, we will find out today. If US dollar gets poor unemployment claims data today, the pound will get a chance to rally. But the pound hasn't got any legs at the minute. We are so... The pound got screwed over on the interest rates. We were expecting an increase in interest rates. We didn't get it. And inflation has remained stable, which you would expect to be bullish, because the next thing, what happens is when inflation comes down fast, you then tend to get either no movement or a tick up in inflation. And this is what some of the countries are experiencing now. The Swissies, for example, ticked up. So you tend to get that before the next leg starts down. We are here at the moment. I would expect a little bit of an inflation rise, which again gives line to potentially a bigger interest rate, another 0.25%. However, our unemployment is also going up, which means they don't want to do that. So the pound has got no legs at the minute. It's not bullish. It's not bearish. It's just not anything. It's like everything. Everything is the same at the moment. We're stuck. We're all stuck. We're waiting. Everybody's waiting for CPI figures to see what's going to happen with interest rates. But what's happening is we're getting the inflation figures and they're not telling us anything. So again, uncertainty. What do you do if you're uncertain about what's going to happen with interest rates? You buy the Swissy. What happens when a war kicks off? You buy the Swissy. Just what happens is, you know, part of the chaos. So I was just trying to find something on the chart. Oh, I just moved to TP. Didn't want to do that. That's a stop loss. I've just put a stop loss in the market. Ugh. March, wasn't it? So I was just trying to find when it all kicked off in Ukraine, which was there. Yeah. So again, XXX Swiss. Yeah. Holy crap. Looks like they're starting a war. Bang. Oh. So all right. Yeah. So you do get the retracement back after the rally into the safe haven. But you know, sometimes it's you'll have another event, like, you know, we panic buy the Swiss franc, but what can cause squeezes to happen is you go, oh, okay, that's all right now. And as soon as you go, right, we'll weaken the Swissy by coming out of the Swiss franc, what happens at the same time is they will drop the interest rates in the pound, for example. And then all of a sudden the pound collapses. So even though the Swiss franc is weak, the pound gets even weaker. And that's what causes squeezes. When you get a fundamental shift where something is expecting to go back and then comes back the other way. So there's nothing you can do about it. What's your account balance? Plenty, Marion. Heading news trading speculation is making us all crazy. Headline news trading. It's always been the way. We always trade the news, don't we? Right, that's all I've got for you this morning. We're out the lows. They're selling the stock market again. Worry, panic, pressure. So DAX is done. Very nice opening range break today. I'll leave it there this morning. So today, just be careful with the news this afternoon with unemployment. That's an hour before the market opens. We've got existing home sales after market open, and then we've got Powell speaking later. So the market's unlikely to hang around for that, I don't think. So we should just get normal movement. And if we haven't had normal movement, they'll probably use 3 o'clock to actually kick it off. Unemployment claims basically will move the market usually. So you will get some volatility coming in on the US dollar there probably. But we will see what type of volatility we get and then make a decision on the US. If we've had massive moves and we've hit ADRs on the indices, it's probably going to be quite tricky open. But I'll be back at 220. We'll trade the US Open as usual, see if we can make a little bit more money. Other than that, I'll be in Telegram and I'll be back this afternoon. So if you've got any questions about anything or you need anything, let me know in Telegram. Otherwise, I'll be back this afternoon and we'll see where we go with everything this afternoon. All right. So good night, Frank. I keep forgetting it's nighttime where you live, isn't it? Have a good one. Anything you need, let me know. Otherwise, I'll be back this afternoon, or if not, tomorrow morning, 7:50, same time for the Frankfurt session. Have a good day.